Alright, fucking introduction. Here's part two, and this is where we get to talk about why this movie was the shit sandwich that it was. Now, throughout this movie, we get themes of humanity and debates on the greater good and anarchy and the preservation of life as well as self preservation, and this is where everything just falls apart. I'm going to do this by covering the Holy Trinity, the three main characters that really embodied the idea that this movie was attempting to go for. Now, first on the chopping block is the president's daughter, who is the worker underneath the French guy for the Art Preservation Society, whatever it was that was saving the Mona Lisa and other important works for the preservation of humanity. Now, this character only has feelings when the plot needs her to have feelings. For instance, there is a scene when they're on a deck and she notices that the passengers walking by are particularly well-to-do. She sarcastically directs a question towards Oliver Platt, the president's chief of staff character, how these people were picked. And he reveals the whole lottery deal and how these people have to pay billions of dollars in order to get tickets on this ark in order to escape the disaster. And that's how this whole thing was funded, despite the fact that she was one of the first people to learn that there was going to be an ark in the first place. Not 20 minutes into the film, her dad, the president, tells her this. Why didn't she ask about that then? If you were a humanitarian who cared about everybody all the time, wouldn't that be one of the first questions you asked? How do they choose the people that are going to get onto this thing? Who's going to be saved? Obviously, she had to know there were a limited amount of seats. Her dad is the president. Why didn't she ask him then? Why did this not come up then? Speaking of the do-nothing president that somehow gathered that going down with the ship and crippling the nation by not giving them a leader was more important than, say, leading them, we have a scene where the black geologist guy yells at Oliver Platt, the chief of staff, for not warning the people about this oncoming threat. To which Oliver Platt replies that, it's to prevent anarchy. And what does the black geologist guy do? He shuts up and says nothing. Then he goes into the president's quarters where he's praying. And does he address that issue he just brought up with Oliver Platt to the president? No. They talk about the president's dead wife. Why didn't you bring it up then if you were that concerned? Why would you bring it up with the chief of staff and not the President of the United States of America? The black geologist guy has a second opportunity where he talks to Oliver Platt's character, and it's revealed that Oliver Platt knew that the black guy told his dad about the oncoming threat and therefore threatened national security. And what is the black guy's response? He says nothing. He does nothing again. Remember this. This is going to come up again. Now, throughout this entire movie, the audience is made to believe that Oliver Platt, the chief of staff, this guy, is the bad guy. He is the movie's villain, antagonist. That's what we're made to believe, that he is against humanity, and this is the bad guy. He is the stiff and cold, power-hungry realist. And here's where it all goes to shit. Now, most of this movie is just special effects with John Cusack trying to get to the Ark in China. He gets to the Ark in China, and here we have the climax. The climax is simple. The disaster gets here before they thought it was going to get here. And Oliver Platt, the quote-unquote bad guy of the movie, decides to shut the doors and get ready for the wave, or else we're all going to die. He has stated his position to be that people need to be controlled, and there is a time and a place for everything. That to prevent anarchy, order must be kept at no matter what cost. That there is a greater good, and to preserve humanity, many must die so few can live. The disaster comes, and he says, close the gates or everybody dies. Now, the black geologist guy and the president's daughter both are up in arms, and the black geologist guy monologues that in order to preserve their humanity, they must open the doors and let these people in. He states basically that these people have a right to live, and they have the right to fight to live. Unfortunately, his monologue of him getting on his soapbox in front of all the leaders of all the nations is undermined by the scene just prior to it. The single reason the black geologist guy gave that speech was because everybody looked out the window and the people outside were rioting. The Russian guy punched the guard, they overran the security, and they ran to the Ark, and they even killed each other. People are being shoved, pushed, and falling to their deaths. And the only reason they're doing this is because they're following one Russian guy who's yelling that the Ark is leaving without them, when in fact they do not know that. They don't know that they could be being transferred to another Ark. They don't know if this is part of the procedure before they leave, or maybe they're just testing the system. The people are panicking in the face of unknown and unverified danger. They are lashing out violently and in a state of total bedlam, just like Oliver Platt's Chief of Staff character said they would. Oh, and it gets better. The second part of what's wrong with this is, why didn't the black geologist guy give this speech earlier? He had all the time in the world when the president was still alive to question the procedures for evacuation, who was going to be evacuated, and when the public was going to be made aware of the oncoming disaster. He had the opportunity to be the whistleblower and warn the people, but he did nothing. The president's daughter had the opportunity to become the whistleblower, and she did nothing. Woody Harrelson's character had the opportunity to become the whistleblower, and he did nothing. Even the President of the United States of America, who we're made to believe is such a great guy because he stays behind and dies, and he prays in the face of danger, even he has a chance to be the whistleblower. If he's such a great guy, why didn't he do anything? He does nothing in this movie. Nobody addresses any relevant questions to him because he has to stay the good guy. Which brings us to our final point on why 2012 was the worst movie ever, because the black guy geologist got on his soapbox and monologued about saving the people outside. And who were the people outside? The people outside were John Cusack and his little supporting cast, a handful of Chinese workers working on the Ark, and the billionaires who already paid to get on the Ark in the first place. The end of this movie was a sham because he was talking about people who were already dead. The people in California were already dead. The people in the India place were already dead. The people on the boat were already dead. Everybody was already dead. If you're going to play Good Samaritan, do it when you can save people. When people can actually be saved. Almost 200,000 people died in the Haiti earthquake. He's talking about saving maybe 300 or 400, a handful of billionaires who were already guaranteed a seat on the Ark. These Arks were built in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, China. There were helicopters that ferried the people there. So that means the only people there were the billionaires who could pay to get there. You saw the scene where the black geologist guy and the president's daughter showed disgust for the way the people were chosen, and now he's standing up and defending them. Look at the people in the picture. I've seen more people in the line at Barnes & Noble's for Harry Potter book releases. How can the director expect us to care about these people and letting them in when they're the billionaires we were made to hate in the first place? From Brazil to America to France to all over the globe, everybody that is normal and unwealthy is dead. It is too little and too late for this monologue to hold any weight or value or sympathy. And fuck it, that's the end.